Greetings everyone, Fru here. Welcome to the channel. I build AI systems to run my personal life and I showcase that on this channel. Paperclip is a platform of choice, and right now there are 15 agents working for me 24/7 on critical aspects of my life, everything from wealth, health, taxes, vehicles, properties, you name it, all managed by an army or a fleet of agents that work 24/7. In today's demo, I'm going to showcase how to potentially expand or extend your fleet of agents by hiring external agents to come in and work for you. If you haven't watched the previous video, we talked about extending Paperclip with plugins or extensions. So if you go to plugins, you can install a plugin into the Paperclip ecosystem. Right here, we've installed a couple of plugins. One of them is Clonet. So watch that video to see how to get this installed. It's very straightforward getting plugins installed. Now, Clawnet gives us access to a marketplace or a registry of agents that could be hired. This is a Clawnet.sh. So these are publicly available agents folks are building and publishing. Obviously, doing the due diligence and alignment of when and how these agents are relevant to you becomes extremely critical. But assuming you've made that choice and a decision for your own personal life and realize there is an agent that could be relevant for you, I'll showcase how that agent could be brought in to augment your Paperclip experience. So in here, once the plugin is installed, you would see Clawnet in your Paperclip instance. So scrolling down, there are a number of agents that are available in here, and it's very important to read through what the agents are doing, what models they use. The one that stood out to me was Tina. Tina is apparently an executive assistant for Google Workspace. This one drew my attention just because of the angle of our channel using AI for your personal life and automation. And so being able to manage your inbox, your calendar, your drive, your task as an agent looks pretty interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and click on hire this agent. The moment that is triggered, you can see Tina now shows up here in my list of agents. But what's also interesting is we're going to go back to my inbox and there is a pending task in that inbox, which is to either approve or reject this hire. And the reason why that happens is the chief of staff agent, which we have, is responsible for doing all the hiring decisions. But for that hiring decision to be done, it needs to be approved by a human. So human in the loop, or essentially the board. So the chief of staff cannot hire, especially external agents, by themselves. And that's the way I have this set up. Because you don't want to go to bed. This works 24/7, does a bunch of hire without your permission. And with this, you can also figure out the cost structure, how costly would this agent be, and those are decisions you can always make as an individual. So before hiring this agent, I can come in on Tina, click on that, just take a view of what this agent is, total cost, see the instructions on what Tina is going to do, look at the skills, or maybe give skills to this agent, look at the configurations. I might want to assign this agent to report directly to my chief of staff, because think about this as an executive assistant that could be relevant to have my chief of staff have an executive assistant to help them, and this agent uses a Claude or Codex local. You can switch the models as needed. And once that's done, just do a couple of checks in here, and this is where you as the leader and you as the human in the loop here will do the due diligence of this. One thing I always pay close attention to with this is essentially looking at the heartbeat. I'm not seeing that here for some reason. Just making sure the cadence of these particular agents. And then also going in and checking on the budget. Let's keep a budget of $2. This is important so the agent doesn't go rogue. And the reason why you want to do this, if the budget is done, this agent will be essentially paused. If I'm happy with that, I go back and I'll approve this hire. So the new hire has been confirmed, and I can open up now to see that this agent now has been hired into my team. Now, if I go back here to the org chart, and I'll do a quick cursory look of this. I see Tina, but it's interesting that Tina is not directly reporting to. Let's do a refresh here. Tina isn't directly reporting to chief of staff, and I thought that's what we did. So I'll just do a quick check here to this particular agent, the configuration. So I'll choose the manager, and I want Tina to be managed by the chief of staff, just to be the executive assistant, because the chief of staff is the one that is responsible for essentially managing my daily calendar and emails and such. So having this assistant, I think, is a good hire. Could be costly, but I think it's a good hire to have on the team. So now that said, the chief of staff now has an executive assistant, and we can verify that by going to the hierarchy in here, and Tina is now part of the team. And because Tina is part of the team, I'm going to go ahead and give the OpenClaw agent to Tina, so Tina can essentially have OpenClaw agent to work with that now. So the chief of staff looks at my daily task and now has a chief of staff. And if you're not a fan of the names, like maybe Tina is not a name you want, you can always change it. I can say exec assistant, just so it's clear, because the moment you start giving names, Tina, Ryan, Bob, Joe, it becomes challenging to remember who is who just by looking at this. So I'm more inclined on functional names. Names it's obvious. Okay, this is a tax agent. You can name this, Sarah, but who's Sarah? If you have all those names. So functional names is the point I'm trying to make, that I tend to prefer those functional names. So do a refresh. So this is taking a little bit of a moment here to save. Now that agent has been updated, and we can double check our org chart. Now, in the chief of staff has an executive assistant with access to OpenClaw, and I do know the exec assistant also has access to my calendar, because Google Workspace has been set up, so there's access to my calendar, access to my Gmail. If I give a new task in my inbox, which gets picked up by the chief of staff, now the chief of staff can delegate that to the agents that it has access to. And then let's go back here, just take a quick look at what other agents we can hire into the team. And this is where this marketplace is very clear to me that the folks that are publishing right now have a completely different audience in mind, which are technical folks, which are builders. And I might be maybe one of the few people who are on this path to orienting this towards individuals to help personal lives, to help our own personal life. So the reason why I mentioned that is, I know most of my audience are not building ETL pipelines, and most of my audience are not designing database schemas. So hiring any of these agents is not as relevant to them. So, but we'll see how this plays all out. I think I'm good with the agents we have now. If you've gotten the pack, you will get the 15 agents or the 15 domains, and obviously you can customize that. And the goal here is not, we're not shooting for bowling scores, right? You're not trying to go high. For me, this is, you're shooting for golf scores, in the sense that bowling scores, you want as many agents as possible. But with golf, yeah, you want as few agents as possible that get the job done. So 15 agents, 16 agents, 17 agents is fine. And if you're going to be adding more agents, just realize that it comes with additional overhead. And I would encourage you to think about that as clearly as possible and justify that, just like any um, business owner or any person in their life will have to justify any hire they make to come into their life. So these domains are pretty solid. You can grab that from the vault. It's also available on the AI Ready U. So hopefully this was helpful, going through showcasing how to use and hire external agents. Actually, there's one more thing I should call out here before we wrap up, is if you go into an agent, it's not obvious at some point which of these agents are internal and which of these agents are external. So we just hired the agent, the exec agent. Well, is this an external agent or an internal agent? And if you have 50 agents, 10 of them are external, 3 of them are 50 agents, 10 are external, 40 are internal. You might want to know that. And the way you would do is, if I select the chief of staff, let's start with that configurations. That agent doesn't report to anybody. Let's scroll down. Let's see. I had a way of figuring that out. Actually, let's do this. Let's do this before we wrap up the video. I'm going to enable the aperture, and then I'm also going to enable the Tortuga. Those plugins might come in helpful here. So let's go on focus. So there's nothing on focus. Tortuga, let's click on the health agent. Doesn't show us. Well, this might be something for another video. I thought at one point I had a way to figure out and to sort the agents from an external agent to an internal agent. Once I get that sorted out, you'll see a video come out on that, because it becomes very important to get that organization. All right, this agent are all internal, these agents are all external, and then giving different permissions and different scopes for those agents. So just given how sensitive the data we're dealing with here might be, you might not want your external agents being able in any means to potentially go read your legal documents or your tax documents, because we're building this for you, for your personal life. But hopefully this gives you an idea of what's all happening here. Extremely powerful. This space is moving fast, and I cannot wait to see how it progresses. Thank you for watching and sticking to the end. As always, this is Afro here. I'll see you in the next demo.